up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss. As we actually have a guest tonight. Yes, who is this guest? Well, just found out on Instagram and on X, you know who we're talking about. But this week, NCAA men's volleyball is going to have the biggest week ever, as we have UCLA and Long Beach State taking on one another in a rematch of last year's national championship. And it's going to be sold out at Long Beach State, so if you don't have your ticket, I feel bad for you. Speaking of UCLA, they did make a lot of history as they had a wild set to against the Ohio State, which they eventually wound up winning. And Long Beach State also took down Pepperdine, which was also huge. Also, in time permits, we will have a little bit of discussion of the MLB and LOBB, but this will mainly be about the VLA and NCAA men's volleyball. So hand me the volleyball. Set next. So I'm about to start up some volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IU Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IU Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IU Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iusportsradio.com. At iSportsRadio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 336 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first, we actually have a special guest. We haven't had a special guest in a hot minute, but here it is. Let's see. This special guest needs no introduction, but let's see those list of accolades. He is the director of broadcasting for the Volleyball League of America. He was the color commentator for the NCAA men's volleyball tournament through the quarterfinals all the way to the semifinals at Long Beach State. If I recall correctly, he's a graduate of Purdue University, where he's even earned praise from Dave Shondell. And he's an overall very knowledgeable person when it comes to the sport of volleyball. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Rob St. Clair. How you doing, Rob?
What's up, Teran? What an intro. Thanks, man. It's good to be here.
It is my honor to have you on. It really is very appreciative that you're here. So without any further delay, let's get on into that volleyball action. But just in case the feds are watching, these are the thoughts and opinions of myself, Teran Rodriguez, and of Rob St. Clair, and not the thoughts and opinions of anyone else, just in case anyone's watching. So with that out of the way, Rob, the floor is yours. Take it away. Tell us all who you are, what you do, and how you got into volleyball.
Ooh, great question. So my name's Rob St. Clair. I'm based in Chicago. I am a lifelong volleyball player, fan, commentator. I just love talking about ball, and I believe in the volleyball product as something that everybody can and should watch and talk about and enjoy, and, you know, to just consume it like any other sport. You should be texting your buddies in your group chat about what happened in the game last night in volleyball, just like football. You should be playing fantasy. You should be like checking scores first thing when you wake up in the morning. Like I believe that volleyball can do that sort of thing. And it's been cool to be a part of volleyball in a bunch of different platforms, formats, places across the country, across the world a little bit over the last, I don't know, decade or so since I got out of college. Like Teran mentioned, I went to Purdue, where I played 5 years at the NCVF level, which I really love and support. And I've been playing a lot locally here in Chicago. I've played a little bit of VLA. I've worked a lot with the VLA. I've done several hundred live streams of podcast matches, called games at the very highest levels. I've done a little bit of it all. Lately, I am mostly just hanging out here in Chicago. I don't have a whole lot on my plate volleyball-wise lately, but I'm got a couple things in the works, and definitely looking for a little bit of action this VLA season, which I know we're going to talk about, as the VLA enters season 7 already. Just hard to believe.
That's awesome. And yeah, that's the big reason why I want you on, just because that's my big goal. I really want to talk about more and get more educated about the VLA, just because I tried getting into it and I pick up on some of it. I follow it on Instagram, that's for starters, but it's like knowing like all the ins and outs of the VLA is another thing. So talk to us about what the VLA is, or the Volleyball League of America, and talk about the whole mission statement and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, my pleasure. So the Volleyball League of America is the biggest and only source of elite level adult volleyball that connects every area in the country at every level, both men's and women's. It was started as an attempt at legitimate men's professional volleyball, which it has reached, and has expanded into all sorts of different levels, all sorts of different places. We just surpassed 100 teams total, which is unbelievable. Again, like I mentioned, we just entered season 7 of the league about a month ago. It kind of graduated from the first generation of the NVA between 2017 and 19, which itself graduated from the PVL in the USAV era when they were sponsoring that division at adult nationals between 2012 and 2016. So some of our teams, like how the NHL has the original 6, like the first 6 teams that founded the National Hockey League. The VLA is the founding 5. The SoCal Rising Tide, the Phoenix Ascension, the Chicago Icemen, the Indiana Team Pineapple, and the New York Legion. Those 5 teams have been around since the PVL era 15 years ago. So the history of the VLA goes back deep. It's got deep roots in several generations of American volleyball, past, present, and future. And it's grown to this incredible ecosystem from coast to coast, covering every volleyball pocket in the country. We've added women's volleyball. We've added tier 2 and 3 on the men's side. And the great part about the VLA is its format, in that it is infinitely accessible and open to anybody at all who wants to come in and play. Whatever format you want to play, whatever level of commitment, whatever level of volleyball itself, there is an option for you within the Volleyball League of America, from almost even the slightly more formal rec level all the way to the professional level. So it's been an honor to help create that a little bit and build out some of that structure. And it's cool to be able to talk about it and get people to help understand what's really going on there, because now I will very much be the first to admit that the VLA is confusing, and we don't do the best job ever about explaining to people what's going on media-wise, because there's so much going on in so many different places. But I'm really happy to get into why I support it so much and have had such a great time over the last 6 or 7 years being a part of growing it to what it is.
I love it. So when I first heard about it, I was like, this looks interesting. But then the problem is that it kind of is, the season starts right when the MLV, formerly known as the PVF, and LOVB season starts. Is that a little tough to deal with, considering people need to know more about the VLA, and the VLA actually does have some sort of like partnership with USA Volleyball, right?
We do as of this year. We can get into that in a bit. Well, first of all, as far as the duration of the season, we were there first. We've been playing professional level volleyball since 2020. The PVF, which became the MLV now on the women's side, and then League One on the women's side, came around several years after we did. So it's not like anybody has dibs on the season, but I assume that both of those entities wanted to do something similar in the timeline that we did, which was capitalize on the increasing explosive popularity of the NCAA women's game. That is a big part of why our season is when it is. We love that the NCAA women's season culminates in December. And I mean, we all know how successful the NCAA women's volleyball tournament is. It's a fantastic product. It does incredible numbers and viewership every year. And then after the holidays, there's this kind of natural momentum for volleyball. And it was a natural time for us to want to start our season, especially because we've got a handful of other things going on. Of course, most people know that at the professional levels, guys and girls who play internationally for their countries play between the months of May-ish and September-ish. And those who go overseas to go play club volleyball for a living do it from October to April approximately. And we wanted to span both of those periods a little bit, because one thing that we've always wanted to do on the men's side and also on the women's, since the women's side has grown within the VLA, is offer a place for overseas professionals to come back after their season is over and still get to play a little bit of volleyball. So we've always wanted that for men and women who finish their pro seasons in April to be able to come back and be able to play within the VLA for at least 1 or 2 months. So we want to overlap our season with both of those things. And it's worked out extremely well, especially as we've been able to partner with a bunch of organizations to help us host our events. One thing we've always loved to do is run our weekend events at the same events as giant volleyball, like qualifiers, big convention center events, USAV, AAU, JVA, like you name it. We have had great experiences at events with all of those big governing bodies, and that put on awesome events at the juniors level. So when we're in a convention center with 50 courts of boys or girls volleyball, and then you see you're already there. You've got volleyball on the mind, and you walk by a court of, men in their athletic prime post college. There are so many people in the US who have never seen that before. They've especially never seen it in person before. So we've had a huge amount of success in just putting that in front of people, being at the right events, partnering with the right people to get eyeballs on it, both in person and on broadcast, just to see something that they've never seen before in the context of the sport of volleyball.
Incredible. I mean, again, this is like a hidden gem that I just discovered. And it really is incredible that the VLA is the only men's professional league in the United States, right?
Correct. And that's a reflection of a lot of things. The one thing that I think is important to point out, like, as we talk about the different entities that are investing a lot in volleyball here lately, MLV, League One, the NCAA level, growth on both sides, the growth in the beach game, even at the top levels, the investment into the Volleyball World Organization to create that, like, jointly create that media entity with the FIVB. Like, all of that proves that volleyball is growing, and volleyball growing at all levels is good for volleyball at all levels. So it's not like there's any competition between, like, the VLA and the women's pro leagues that have a bunch of money, or the NCAA, or anything like that. Like, the rising tide lifts all ships, as they say. So growth in volleyball is a good thing across the board. However, as you, Teran, well know, there is a pretty big disparity in gender. I'd say, it's straight up, it's gender inequity in the sport of volleyball in the United States. The opportunities for men to play in the high school level, at the college level, at the professional level, have never existed at the same plane of opportunity as the women's game. And the investment into lots of different levels of volleyball hasn't reached the men yet to the order of 7 figures like it has for some of the other leagues and things that we've seen recently. But that is totally okay with the VLA. We do not need millions of dollars in investment right this second, because we have incredible sustainability that we've built with the model of the league. We've never lost money in the history of the league. We don't depend on outside investment. We have never operated in the red in the history of the VLA. There's the incredible connection to the volleyball communities that exist all over the US, and that really fuels and sustains what the VLA has going on in an extremely long-term sustainable way. So when people online are begging for the next big thing in men's volleyball, they're begging for that splash multi-million-dollar investment to create something like a League One or like an MLV. That probably isn't going to happen anytime soon, because of the reality of the difference in eyeballs and opportunity and interest in men's versus women's volleyball in the US right now. Again, growth in volleyball is good for every variety of volleyball, but the men's game just isn't there yet. So what we can do is build something from the ground up, build something off the backs and the sweat and the effort of people that really get it, that love it, that are in the scenes, that play, that are in the communities, and that understand what volleyball needs to grow in the long term. So the fact that the VLA is started with 5 teams and is now at 100 across 4 divisions is proof of that growth and that sustainability. So sure, it's not our players are not making 5 figures a year to play. It's not their living in almost any case. They're playing on the weekends. They're practicing in the evenings when they can after their real jobs in a lot of cases. But they're building something sustainable for anybody that wants to be a part of it. And then that's super important. It is so open and inclusive and encouraging of anybody who wants to be a part of it, whether to play, to coach, to do media, to be at events, to just talk to your friends about it. Like, whatever you want the VLA to be for you, it is there for you. But also, we aspire that top level, the top level on the men's side, men's tier 1. We aspire that to be an elite, professional caliber, professional, financially backed product of elite sports that really can be that long-term sustainable men's professional volleyball league that we, like the core group of us men's American volleyball fans, have wanted for so long. The VLA can be that. It's just going to take time to build it there. It's not going to necessarily come overnight, but that's going to be better in the long run.
I like it. So something I do want to know about the VLA is, who are some of the notable players that you've gotten in the VLA, men or women?
Good question. So the cool thing about it is that really, really great VLA players come from everywhere. From the Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, NAIA. It come from the NCVF level that I played at. We have VLA players that didn't play formally in college at all, that show up on teams and make impacts. So that's one of the parts about it that's really cool. But of course, like every league of any kind needs superstar talent. One guy that I've really loved watching over the years is Joe Kaliakamoa. He was the setter at BYU in Taylor Sanders' era for those incredible BYU teams in the 2010s. He's won more VLA tournament MVPs than I can count at least 2 different positions. So that guy's an absolute baller. Sunil Thomas is a setter that I absolutely love to watch. He was the backup to Christy Blau on Ohio State's 2 national championship teams in 2016, 2017. He's set the Chicago Icemen in the last 5 or 6 seasons. We've got some couple superstar middle blockers that I've always loved watching. Blake Leeson, who a lot of people know from those Ohio State teams, has played for Team LVC out of New York for years. Mike Marshman, who's played for Team USA. Similar, he's an upstate New York guy. He's played for Team LVC for years. Cody Kessel of Team USA has played in the VLA. Dave Wyzorek, who's switched to the beach now, he's played the VLA. Let's see, who else comes to mind? Very personal shout out. Last year's VLA Most Valuable Player was an old teammate of mine, Dave Hancock, for the Chicago Icemen, a Purdue grad from the NCVF level to be the MVP of the entire VLA with NCVF pedigree, and he did play overseas for a couple years. Is extremely cool and just speaks to the format and how you can make the VLA whatever you want it to be if you're that caliber of a player, that caliber of a team. But we've got names that people who really know volleyball will recognize. And we've got names that people who know volleyball won't recognize until they watch us, and then they'll know. And that's kind of the cool part, is we have a platform for guys to continue playing because they really love it and they want to build themselves. They want to build their brands, and they want to play elite level ball. So it's been cool I wonder how many games I've called. Hundreds of VLA matches I've been on the mic for over the years, gotten to tell a lot of stories, gotten to talk to a lot of guys and girls, and I like to get more people with microphones in their faces and just to talk about volleyball, to tell us their volleyball stories. And we want to keep doing that as much as we can.
Awesome. So if I'm ever around, if there's ever a VLA event in my neck of the woods, hopefully, knock on wood, I'll definitely be there. I do want to ask this. For rookies and charlatans who don't know the VLA, what's the best way to follow the VLA, whether it's on social media, on websites, on social platforms, you name it? What's the best way to follow the VLA?
Good question. Instagram, YouTube, and website are the 3 best places. We can link all those, or you can search Volleyball League of America, VLA Volleyball on Instagram. All those things will help you be able to follow it. If you're just diving in because there's several divisions worth of competition based on level and commitment level and all these things, the place where I would suggest you start is at the men's tier 1 level. That is our highest level of competition. That's the 12 best men's teams in the country across 4 regional divisions. They play the most set and predictable schedule. They all play 8 regular season matches each within their divisions. They play 2 of what we call the VLA Cup Series tournaments. There's 1 per division. Then there's 1 gigantic one called the VLA Cup, which is in Las Vegas in May. And then there's our finals event, which this year, Teran, like you alluded to earlier, we are really excited about the partnership that we have with USA Volleyball to share our finals event with USA Adult Open Nationals. And that is something really cool. It's something very full circle because, like I mentioned before, the real genesis of what is now the VLA came during the PVL era, which was a division at Open Nationals 15 years ago. And now, after all this time, we're back, and we're back at that same event as USA Volleyball wants to really just inject some juice back into it. They want more bodies. They want more elite level teams and competitions. And They want a reason for people to congregate around the great courts and fill the bleachers again at adult open nationals and watch the best teams in the country. That's what the PVL did capture once a year all the way back then. And now 10-ish years later, we've got more of a full season, much more of a structure that will culminate at USAVs, which this year is in Orlando over Memorial Day weekend. So the men's tier 1 level is definitely where I would start. I think you can pick a team based on where you live. We've got 12. We've got the West, East, North, and Central divisions. We've got teams in most major areas of the country at all different levels, and we've also got women's volleyball too. So whatever level of volleyball you're interested in, the VLA's got it for you. And especially if you are plugged into your local community, there's a very good chance that there are already people that you know that are playing in the VLA in some capacity.
Teran Rodriguez, host of Set Point on IE Sports Radio, live here with Rob St. Clair, the Director of Broadcasting of the Volleyball League of America, or the VLA. A couple more questions about the VLA. So if I ever want a job or anyone wants a job, is there a possible career with like broadcasting or media with the VLA, or is that not quite in the works yet?
Career, I can't promise anyone, but opportunity to get to our events or even just from afar to do whatever you want with the VLA, we absolutely would love to have you or anyone else, anybody who wants to be involved. Like I said earlier, if you want to play, you want to coach, you want to create content, you want to be at events, you want to cover it from afar, we are so open to anything, and we are happy to answer any questions about people getting access to make from the VLA whatever they want to make it.
Got it. Now, one last fun question about the VLA. What I saw some of the team names, and some were just really eye-popping. What are some of the best or funniest team names of the VLA?
Great question. One that people, I want to make sure that this like general volleyball knowledge doesn't die. And this starts with the Indiana Team Pineapple. People used to, so Team Pineapple was the New England Patriots of the 2010s decade. And Loy Ball was Tom Brady. As soon as Loy Ball was done playing for the U.S. national team and playing professionally over in Russia, I believe was his last stop, he came back. He founded Team Pineapple as an adult men's team and as a junior club that he still owns and runs. And Team Pineapple dominated the PVL era. And they were just a bunch of basically Loy's old Purdue Fort Wayne teammates. It was IPFW at the time, and they didn't have necessarily the big names from the West Coast major Division I programs, but they won, I think, 3 out of the 4 PVL championships. And Loy was a superstar. Guys like Jeff Petak, Jorge Rolat, like these absolute studs from that era. And Team Pineapple was named after a move, an on-court play that Loy Ball literally patented when he was in college. It's the right-handed blind setter dump over the right shoulder to deep position 5. That like blind chuck over the position 5 defender that hits the back corner. Loy made a career off of that thing, and he's incredible at telling stories overall. But he tells the story of when he was in college at IPFW, playing out in Hawaii and scoring dozens of points with that move, just lobbing the ball over defenders' heads and hitting back lines, and Hawaii's opposing coaches just losing their minds, like, come on, looks like this guy's throwing pineapples out there. So he grabbed that term and trademarked it immediately, and Team Pineapple has been a brand within American volleyball ever since. So whenever I see clips online of people doing the pineapple move, that deep right-handed setter dump, I like to give Loy his credit. So that's where Team Pineapple comes from, in case people haven't seen that one. Another one in the Central Division of men's tier 1 that I like is the Ohio Valley Unicorns. Unicorns is a goofy one that, you see a team named Unicorns, you're like, kind of, what are we talking about? Why is this named Unicorn? But it's a cool one. It ties into their backyard locally, because that team covers like the Cincinnati, Louisville, Lexington, Kentucky, Ohio, Southeast Indiana, like kind of that whole pocket of the central part of the Midwest. And according to Shane Green, the owner of the Unicorns, a unicorn is a term for a very special kind of Kentucky bourbon whiskey that I guess is really rare and special, and that's sort of a unicorn. And Shane decided to name his team after that. So those two definitely come to mind for some of my favorite VLA team names.
I totally agree about the Ohio Valley Unicorns right there. Just absolute. I saw that. I was like, oh, that's amazing right there.
Yeah, it's a good
All
one.
right. So I think anything else you want to talk about regarding the VLA before I have a little rapid fire with you in terms of NCAA men's volleyball?
Sweet. Just to support it, like kind of like I said earlier, the people who are men's volleyball fans in the United States understand the reality of where it is, and it's growing really fast at a lot of different levels, but it needs men's volleyball at all levels, in particular the VLA, just needs support. It needs you to watch, it needs you to care, it needs you to talk to your friends about it. It needs your money if you can spare it, but it doesn't even need that necessarily. It just needs you to support the things that are out there. I feel a lot of negativity from volleyball fans in general, but especially men's volleyball fans. Like, why don't we have a multi-million-dollar professional volleyball league? Why don't we have this? We're entitled to this. Why doesn't it exist? That's not really how it works. You either support what there is or be a part of helping to create what you want to see. And that's what the VLA has really been all about. And the level of volleyball is good. It is compelling, and it is everywhere. There are so many events popping up. There's every weekend. There's tons of matches going on coast to coast. And all it needs right now is your support. So give it a look, give it a follow, tune into some matches on YouTube, which I'll stream for free for the most part. And just give it your support and come to an event and say hi to me if you run into me at one.
Love it. And I'll definitely link the VLA and its socials in the show in this episode, post this episode, once this live stream has ended. But
that would be great.
I do want to do some rapid fire questions with you regarding NCAA men's volleyball. So down below is under the whole banner thing is the AVCA poll for this week. And look, not long story short, Long Beach State, number 2, UCLA, number 1. What can we expect from that? Because I'll be there and it's sold out.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. I think you can expect obviously fireworks. You can expect an incredible crowd in the Pyramid. My theme for this year's men's NCAA season is the opposite position. I think a lot of the best teams in the country have there's a lot of elite setters, there's a lot of elite left sides, there's a lot of elite like middle blocker groups, but I think the thing that's going to set apart whoever eventually wins the national championship is the opposite position. And I'm looking for David Decker of UCLA versus Daniil Hršćanović of Long Beach State. That battle I'm really interested in. Can one of those guys legitimately take over the game, put their team's offense on their back and on their shoulder, hit at high volume and high efficiency, and just be the guys to carry their teams out of system offenses? I'm super interested in that matchup.
And you mentioned some of the top opposites. You also got Will Darcy. I know we're talking Long Beach State, UCLA here, but for NCAA men's volleyball, there's other good opposites like Will Darcy. Noah Roberts is on the rise after he initially played outside hitter.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips, Alexander Sosa from Loyola. So
and a few. There's like a bunch of others. There's
shout out Moses Wagner from Stanford, who I really like.
Oh yeah, Moses.
Yeah, well, another one is Hawaii that I'm really interested in because in my opinion, they have 5 really good wings for only 3 spots. They've got Kainoa Wade, Christian Tetrisky at opposite, and then Finn Kearney, who can play both, plus then the 2 French kids, Andrew Rohr and Louis Sakanoko. So like and Kainoa Wade, I think, is the player of the week nationally this week. He was awesome when Hawaii went east this past week to I think it was St. Francis and Penn State and wherever else they hit along the way. But they've got a lot of talent on that roster and not enough court space for all those elite wing players. So how do they balance the depth versus the fatigue versus the chemistry? I think that's another team to keep an eye on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hawaii is going to be really good. If they can get more healthy, they're going to be really deadly. So I got to give this question out to you. I don't want to put too much pressure here, and you're welcome to plead the 5th, but who wins this week, Long Beach State or UCLA?
I think UCLA wins on the road. I think they have the team that has been there before in more important positions. Obviously, Long Beach State has Skylar Varga, who's the national champion from last year and could win National Player of the Year. He's my personal pick for the most versatile player in the country. He can literally do anything. But the middle blockers are new. The setter is new. I think the libero is new. Obviously, Long Beach State being the defending national champions, the major storyline from that was Moni Nikolov, and everyone else was just trying to put the ball in Moni's hands and let him be maybe the best collegiate volleyball player we've ever seen. This year, there is no Moni. That output is going to have to come from so many more people on that Long Beach State roster, and I think it's impossible to sleep on UCLA because they're number one in the country, but they have 3 or 4 dudes who started on national championship teams. And I can't pick anybody in the country who's playing better than Zach Rama is right now. He is hitting the ball straight over the top of elite Division I blockers. He is making them look invisible. I thought at the First Point Collegiate Challenge in Arizona, he was unbelievable. And I think that Andrew Rowan is the best setter in the country. So I love the talent and the experience of UCLA. I truly think UCLA's only question mark is how consistently David Decker can play at the opposite position. And so far this year, he's been outstanding. So I can kind of see UCLA going in this weekend and silencing that sellout crowd in the Pyramid.
I totally respect it. I'll take Long Beach State just for the reason of I think they're at home. They passed a big test in Pepperdine. I think they've been battle tested. They know they can win ugly sets, like
True.
Sets that go overtime. But so can UCLA.
Speaking of overtime, 48-46 last week. I'm sure you're going to talk about that one later.
Record-setting set in set number 2 against the Ohio State. So don't be surprised if any of those sets go overtime.
Hope they do. I hope it goes 5. I'm hoping for a show.
Same here. So a couple more questions and then I'll let you go for the night. So other than UCLA and Long Beach State, who are some teams that you think can win the national championship?
Well, there are several, and there's going to be more opportunities because of the expansion of the NCAA tournament this year to 12 teams, which is just awesome and long overdue. And one of the teams that I think is going to benefit the most from that is my personal favorite team in the country and a dark horse to win it all. I don't even know if it's dark horse. It's the USC Trojans. I absolutely love this USC team. I loved them last year, even though they got upset in the MPSF tournament. I am a huge Dylan Klein fan. I think he could be the best left side in the country. And Sterling Foley is terrific across from him. Big fan of Johnny Dykstra at libero. Caleb Blanchette is definitely good enough to win a national championship at the setter position. They have 3 unbelievable middles, probably the best middle trio in the country. And again, the only question for them is the opposite position. Who's going to lock that spot down and be the guy, especially somebody who can score out of system. But I love USC. I love them, and I cannot wait to see them get into conference play. So that's a team that definitely can win a national title. Hawaii can win a national title. And I don't know if I believe it yet, but I'm curious to see if UC Irvine could put themselves on the map as a national title contender. So far, pretty good in non-conference.
I love it. I definitely think those are 3 other good options. I've seen UC Irvine. They've looked solid. Hawaii, I'll see them when they play Long Beach and Irvine. And then this Saturday, I'm also going to see USC when they play UC Santa Barbara.
Good.
So one last question. Oh, I'm sorry. What's that?
You're just going to have a lot of good in-person eyes on the best teams in the country. I'm envious of you and everyone else who lives in Southern California and has all that access.
I mean, I do what I can. I got to provide for the people just because, NCAA men's volleyball needs that coverage and men's volleyball needs that coverage,
100%.
Which leads me to my final question. What do you hope for in terms of the future of NCAA men's volleyball, whether it's media-wise, television-wise, team-wise, etc.? What do you just hope for the future of NCAA men's volleyball?
I hope that it continues to grow, which it has, especially at the Division III and Division II levels. But the important level that I have my eye on is the top levels of Division I programs. Obviously, we lost Grand Canyon last year. That was a massive blow to the sport. We almost lost Stanford a couple years ago until the alumni base miraculously saved that program from extinction. But now we're trying to swing that thing the other way. The Pacific men's volleyball program is coming back, and Devin Young just took that head coaching job. They're going to come back to Northern California next year. I want to see, as the NCAA tournament grows, as overall visibility of men's volleyball grows, and as hopefully as the entirety of the NCAA and collegiate athletics morphs over the next couple of years. It's a very volatile time right now. Hopefully more big school, major power conference athletic directors see that sponsoring men's volleyball is worth it. It is worthwhile. It is not a money-losing effort. It is not a waste of time and resources. It can legitimately add both money, culture, bodies, and athletic success to your campuses. I want growth at the top levels of high major conference universities adding men's volleyball. Pacific is a good start, but I want more. I want more out of the Big Ten where I live and where I'm from. I want more big name schools on the East Coast. I want every major school on the West Coast to sponsor it legitimately at the Division I level. I want the high major programs. We need more of them, and the sport will continue to grow around those programs when the investment comes. So that's what I've really got my eye on.
We're looking at you, Big Ten. We really want to see more of those teams.
It's close.
I'm hoping for Nebraska.
It's close. I mean, that 48-46 UCLA Ohio State was actually on legitimate TV on Thursday. It wasn't just on Big Ten Plus.
Network, yeah.
It was on the Big Ten Network. I was watching it at a bar in Chicago after my Thursday night volleyball league with 20 other volleyball players, and we were losing our minds at that marathon set. Like that it's that easy. The product is there. It's something I've said about volleyball all along. It's the best on-court product. What's going on the court is the best in all of sports. It's the best in all of sports. It's about everything else. It's about the visibility. It's about the broadcasting, about the media, your ability to follow the games, the storylines, the access to the players, all those other things that, in my opinion, are easier than creating an elite on-court product. The product is there. All it needs is eyeballs and high-level investment. And at the NCAA level, that needs to come from the biggest and best teams. But with the Big Ten expanding to the West Coast, we're already getting to see some positive motion that we never would have thought of 5 or so years ago. So I'm optimistic. There's a lot of good going on.
I love it. Amazing stuff right there. I really appreciate your insight when it comes to NCAA men's volleyball. It wasn't quite rapid fire, but it's all good. Like, it was rapid. It was fire, straight fire. You have anything else you want to add before I send you on your way and we head to a commercial break?
Just thanks to everyone for tuning in and continue to support volleyball at all levels. Tune in, watch, talk to your friends, and be involved in your volleyball communities, because the sport of volleyball can't do it without y'all. So thanks for everybody's support of the sport as a whole. I speak on behalf of the sport when I thank people for that.
And let me just say, Rob, you do outstanding work when it comes to your thing, when it comes to your YouTube, when it comes to VLA, when it comes to your, what's it called? Volleyball thing 2.0.
Well, when I have more platforms to share volleyball, I will make sure that everybody knows where to follow all of them. But if you want to shoot me a follow on Instagram in the meantime, it's at @RSt.Clair1. I'm putting some things together, but I've still got my hands in volleyball here and there. So hope to see people, a lot of events, some NCAA, some VLA, and then some great events coming up over the summer. So Teran, thanks again, man. I appreciate you having me on.
No problem. And keep up the amazing work. I hope to see you soon. That is Rob St. Clair, everybody. Just the do-it-all man when it comes to volleyball, and the director of broadcasting when it comes to the VLA. We'll take a commercial break. When we come back, got some more volleyball to discuss, a little more NCAA men's volleyball, a little PVF or MLV, and then LOVB. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson. It's your boy Dentarius Lava.
And we are the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys plenty of time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies.
And your one-timers.
You wicked wristas.
And be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Thank you to Rob St. Clair for being a guest on this week's episode of Set Point. I really do appreciate him. It was close to 9 p.m. his time, so I didn't want to eat up too much of his time. It would have been great if he could have stayed longer, but I'm not going to eat away his nighttime and whatnot and the rest of his evening. But if you wanted to follow him, he is on... Oh, that ain't it. If you want to follow him on Instagram, it's at rstclair1. He does an amazing job. He had the little wet volleyball YouTube account that he has is Volleyball Source 2.0. He does that with his good buddy Everett, and they do an amazing job. So gotta give him his rightful flowers and plugs. So there you go. So now that we're on the topic of plugs, make sure to follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, and TikTok at IE Sports Radio. And also make sure to check out the website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest news, blog, everything else, and all of our shows dedicated to every sport or most of the sports around the country. For the last 11 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And you can follow me personally at Teran Rodriguez 1. You could also follow Set Point on X and TikTok at set_point.ie. And you could also follow Set Point on Instagram at set_point.iesr. So without any further delay, let's get back into the second half of the show. So let's talk some more NCAA men's volleyball. So I didn't really get a chance to talk too much about it, but I did allude to the fact that UCLA Ohio State made history with their Thursday game, where UCLA and Ohio State played to a 48-46 set, which was the most points in a set in NCAA men's volleyball history. It was unbelievable. It even surpassed McKendree Long Beach State of this year, as well as BYU UC San Diego of this year. It was just an incredible match. Overall, UCLA wound up winning that match in straight sets. The day after, Long Beach State actually wound up taking down Pepperdine in 4 sets. And here's the thing. Set 3 was what really killed Pepperdine. They actually were up 20-15, and it looked like Pepperdine was going to be up 2-1 on its home floor. But Long Beach State eventually rallied, took that third set 30-28, and then the fourth set, Long Beach State needed a little bit of a rally to take the fourth set 27-25. They won off of a net violation, which was just so tough. I was at UC Irvine for UC Irvine Stanford, and I actually just cut the final live stream. Shout out to Rob Aspero for having the stream for that match, which I thought was pretty cool. But in that Long Beach State match against Pepperdine, Skylar Varga led the way with 18 kills. He had a hitting percentage of .417. Daniil Hershtanovich, 15 kills. He's going to be an X factor for this Friday's Long Beach State match against UCLA. Pepperdine was led by Cole Hartke, who had 17 kills. Ryan Barnett and Glant Lamoureux both had 11 kills. But it wasn't enough, as the Waves unfortunately could not get its lick back against the Beach. It was the first time those two teams had met since the Final Four from last year. That was clearly the match of the week. And then I guess some other notable results we had. UC Irvine beat Stanford twice this past week, once in 4 sets and then the other in 5. The 5-setter I was not there for. I unfortunately could not make it. Unfortunately, those matches weren't streamed, and I don't want to get on into the whole logistics of why UC Irvine isn't streaming their matches, but unfortunately they just aren't, and we're just going to have to live with it. But they will be streaming the Big West Conference matches. They won't be streaming the non-conference matches unless something happens, but I digress. BYU took down UC Santa Barbara both times in 3 sets at Santa Barbara, which I thought was an incredible bounce back. Loyola took down UC San Diego on Saturday, and then the day before, UC San Diego reverse swept Lewis, which I thought was a pretty darn good win on their behalf. On the behalf of UC San Diego, even though they split. Josh Schellinger really stepped up for Loyola. That was kind of the big question. Is Josh Schellinger going to be facing his former team? We hadn't really seen much of him. So you had that right there. And then on, I think it was Saturday. It was either Saturday or Friday. It was Friday. Missouri S&T from the GLVC, the Great Lakes Valley Conference, they upset McKendree in 4, which was big because McKendree was number 11, tied for number 11 in the AVCA polls. And the fact that Missouri S&T pulled off that upset was big. It's their first ever win in program history. As Rob St. Clair also mentioned, Hawaii wound up winning all 3 of their matches in Pennsylvania. They beat St. Francis on Wednesday. They beat Penn State Friday in straight sets, and then they beat Penn State on Saturday in 4 sets, with the 4th set being 38-36, I think. Regardless, it was a great win, great week for Hawaii overall. It shows that Hawaii can actually play on the road and in the cold, so don't underestimate those bows. And that was pretty much that in terms of like some of the other notables. I mean, I guess tied for number 20, Concordia Irvine. They lost twice to the Masters College, which is the best NAIA team and the reigning NAIA champions, which was still pretty good. I mean, no true shame in losing that, but I guess that is still considered an upset, but I digress. All right, but that is that for some of the notable results for this week's NCAA men's volleyball week from week number 5. Now we jump on into week 6, and we already saw the AVCA polls. Nothing really changed. The most a team went up was 1 spot. So nothing really changed all that much. The only true difference is that Lincoln Memorial is now number 20 by themselves. Concordia Irvine kind of slipped out, but it is what it is. Off the block media poll for this week, UCLA 1, Long Beach State 2, UC Irvine 3, Hawaii 4, USC 5, Pepperdine 6, BYU 7, Loyola 8, Ball State 9, Lewis 10. So who I voted for in this week's Off the Block media poll, thankfully I was able to get it in just because yesterday I was super busy when it came to other work in the MPSF Beach Volleyball Media Day, which I'll talk next week. But I voted UCLA 1, Long Beach State 2, UC Irvine 3, Hawaii 4, USC 5, Pepperdine 6, BYU 7, Loyola 8, Ball State 9. I put UC San Diego at 10. I think UC San Diego deserves to be number 10. They've played a tougher schedule in my eyes. And honestly, that win over Lewis, I think, kind of gives them the edge. That's why I gave them the number 10 spot. But I guess Lewis deserves number 10, but it is what it is sometimes. I guess you can't always get what you want. But my ballot was so close to being the same as the media poll for this week. Unfortunately, someone thought that Lewis deserves the spot over UC San Diego, even though those Tritons did beat the Flyers. But I digress. And they beat them on the road. That's why I put UC San Diego at 10. But maybe I'm missing something. Anyway, so week 6 for the NCAA men's volleyball season. Ranked wise, it's not that there's not too many matches. So MIVA play kicks off this week as number 11 Lewis plays at number 13 McKendree, and then Friday number 7 Loyola plays at number 13 McKendree. This is the big week for McKendree. This is what's really going to prove about McKendree. This is the real litmus test for the Bearcats. I want to see what McKendree could do because I think they are definitely a threat in the MIVA. But can they beat Lewis? Can they beat Loyola? Last week, I felt we kind of didn't see the best version of McKendree. I thought they left a little meat on the bone after losing to Missouri S&T. This week is kind of going to be their big test. They're at home. It's so tough to win at McKendree. I think it's a tough place to win at. I'm sure Lebanon is going to be bumping, but can they take down its other Illinois brethren? So that's a wait and see thing. And then Wednesday, USC they'll host CSUN. And then Saturday, USC will, like I mentioned, I'll be at UC Santa Barbara just because I got some friends on that team. And I think it would be awesome to see the Gauchos. I'll see the Matadors soon. I mean, I was going to go to their match on Wednesday, but I think I'm just going to be too busy. And I think at this point, it's too late to even reserve myself a spot when it comes to being a part of the media, but it is what it is. And then Friday, we have number 20 Lincoln Memorial versus BYU at Harvard. That's an interesting matchup. So BYU is capable of winning outside of Smith Fieldhouse. Let's get one thing straight. But I want to see what Lincoln Memorial can do. They didn't really pass their test against Ohio State. They have a loss to Erskine, so Lincoln Memorial is kind of clinging to that final spot in the AVCA poll. But if they can be competitive against BYU, I can actually see something good coming out of the Rail Splitters. But I want to see what BYU can do. This time, they'll be playing in a different time zone. So they got to play on Pacific time after they also play on Mountain Standard Time. But I want to see what they could do on East Coast time. If they play their cards right, then I'll still have faith in BYU. I don't think BYU is a bad team, but when you compare them to UCLA, USC, and Pepperdine, I think those teams are better. If it weren't for Stanford's inconsistency-ish, I would also put Stanford ahead of BYU, but for now, I think BYU is kind of the 4th or 5th best team in the MPSF. And then speaking of CSUN and Pepperdine, number 6 Pepperdine plays at number 16 CSUN. Again, this week is kind of a big test for CSUN. This is kind of going to see where CSUN is at because I want to say the following week, if not next week, but the following week, they play at UCLA, which I think is going to be a big matchup for the Matadors. I think CSUN's a good team. I'm just not high on them like I was last year. Jalen Phillips is fantastic, but without Stilya and Deli Bolsov, I just don't think CSUN is the same team. I definitely would put Santa Barbara ahead of CSUN And I'm definitely going to put UC San Diego over Santa Barbara and CSUN in terms of the Big West. But if CSUN can get at least one match out of two, or at least be competitive in one of those matches, I think I could reinforce some faith in terms of the Matadors. But we'll see what happens. Theo Edwards is a fantastic coach. It's just that I just don't necessarily trust in CSUN as of right now. But a lot can change in the span of a few weeks. All right. And then Friday, obviously, number one, UCLA at number 2, Long Beach State. I will still go on the record and say Long Beach State wins. It'll be tough, though. I mean, my big concern for Long Beach State is, will they be able to handle the tough serving from all of UCLA's tough servers like Andrew Rowan, David Decker? Decker can reel off a couple of big aces. You also have Sean Kelly, who I think is improving. You also got Zach Rama, who I think is playing some really good ball. Cam Thorne always has a wicked serve. And Chris Connolly is the libero for UCLA. He knows Long Beach State more than any of the players on UCLA. So that's going to be another X factor, in my opinion. That's a sneaky good X factor. I still think boldly Long Beach State pulls off the win. I think for some weird reason, Long Beach State plays their best match. Like I said, they can win against some ugly. They can win ugly against some good teams, and then they could also win late. And I think both teams are battle tested. They're equally battle tested. UCLA has played McKendree. They also played the likes of Ball State and Loyola. They also played UC San Diego, which I thought was pretty solid on the road as well. Long Beach has played the Ohio State. They played McKendree. They played Pepperdine. So I think UCLA kind of has the edge in terms of they're a little bit more battle tested, but you never can count out Long Beach State. I mean, this is Long Beach State we're talking about, and who knows? Maybe Long Beach State will show us something that we don't know. But we shall see when it comes to that matchup. And then that's pretty much that. There's only 7 ranked-on-ranked matches this week, which is unfortunate just because we've had double-digit ranked-on-ranked matches the past few weeks. But 7's still pretty good. So that's pretty much that. I guess some other notable matchups this week. You got UC Irvine at Concordia Irvine on Friday. That's a sneaky good matchup. The only problem with that is that it's going to get overshadowed by Long Beach State UCLA. But if Concordia Irvine plays like it did against Princeton, maybe it could catch UC Irvine off its A game. I mean, Irvine's coming off of 2 wins. They've won 5 straight against ranked opponents. They've won 5 straight against MPSF opponents. Concordia Irvine's going to have their hands full, and they've only beaten UC Irvine twice in its program's history. But who knows? Maybe with this little rivalry match, maybe we could see UC Concordia Irvine possibly being a sneaky good matchup. And then I guess some other notable matchups. You got NJIT Princeton in the Battle of New Jersey. You've got Lindenwood Lewis, which is actually another ranked-on-ranked matchup. So my apologies for kind of messing that one up. So I forgot Lindenwood's ranked. So my apologies, Lindenwood. I can't keep forgetting that. Is Lindenwood also? Lindenwood Loyola Chicago is another ranked matchup. So I scratch what I said. There's 9 ranked-on-ranked matchups, not 7. So my apologies. It helps if the NCAA puts the rankings of these teams on their website instead of not putting any rankings on it. It's kind of the case of blind leading the blind. But Lindenwood has a big week as well. This is really going to prove. Lindenwood's got a big week. Loyola's got a big week. Lewis has got a big week. And McKendree's got a big week. So it's a big week for all the Central State teams and the Midwest teams. And Saturday, nothing really special. I mean, Friday, Saturday, you've got Penn State and St. Francis, which I think is a solid matchup. That's maybe BYU Harvard. haven't seen anything from BYU or anything from Harvard that's popped out at me. So if anything, BYU is might have its way, unless they can't play on the road, unless they can't play on East Coast time. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. And then Sunday, Sunday is also Super Bowl Sunday. So you're not going to have too many matchups, just Purdue, Fort Wayne, Damon, and then Ohio State, Central State. But be on the lookout tomorrow for some of my top NCAA men's volleyball conference series, which would mean 2 teams facing each other twice in conference play, which that seems to be the case for everybody. So there you go. All right, but that's that for NCAA men's volleyball. Moving on to the MLV. So with all of this happening regarding the ML with Rob St. Clair being a guest on, and then you have NCAA men's volleyball happening, we still have the MLV happening. We had the MLV. We had week 4 that just surpassed us this past week. And yeah, it was a pretty fun week. And the week started on Thursday when we had the Indy Ignite taking down the Atlanta Vibe in 4 sets, which that's not too surprising. I mean, the Ignite needed a bounce back win after they lost to the Omaha Supernovas. I mean, it's self-explanatory. I mean, the Ignite made the final, the championship match last year for a reason. But Azani Teeler led the way with 16 kills. You also got 10 kills from Lecator member Manet. As a team, Indy only hit 212, which wasn't that impressive, but they held Atlanta to a hitting percentage of 155, as the Vibe were led by Leah Edmond, who had 13 kills, but that was kind of the only kill leader that they truly had. Their next kill leader was Raven Colvin, Pia Timmer, and Aiko Jones. They all had 6 kills, 3 players with 6 kills, and Jones had 12 digs. So overall, kind of what I expected, but not all that surprising. And then the Orlando Valkyries swept the Grand Rapids Rise, and then the Dallas Pulse swept the Columbus Fury. Not surprising that the Valkyries swept the Rise. The Pulse sweeping the Fury wasn't all that surprising. I mean, those were actually road wins from both those teams, but I felt the Pulse is a lot better, even though they're kind of their first year expansion team. So Pulse getting that win over Columbus on the road was good, especially since the Fury have had such a good season. And then Friday, we had this. Okay, this one kind of worried me. The Omaha Supernovas wound up taking down the San Diego Mojo in 5, but I was also seeing this matchup, and I was a little concerned because San Diego's up 8-5, or I'm sorry, not 8-5, 8-3 in set 5, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, Omaha, I think I just jinxed Omaha, because I've been singing praises about Omaha, and I kept saying on last week's show that Omaha's going to have a field day with the San Diego Mojo. Nope. San Diego really, they took it to Omaha, and they almost pulled off the win, but thankfully for Omaha, they've got quite the treacherous trio, as they got Reagan Cooper, who had 23 kills. She had 17 digs. Brooke Nunaviller, she had 20 kills and 12 digs. You also had 18 kills from Kiara Reinhardt. Good little homecoming for her. I think, if I recall correctly, she was a former Creighton player. Anyway, Merritt Beeson also had 9 kills with 8 digs. So overall, a solid win for the Supernovas. I mean, it was ugly, but you better to win ugly than to not win at all. For the Mojo, they were led by Grace Loberg, who had 19 kills and 18 digs. They got 12 kills from Morgan Lewis, along with 21 digs. They also got 12 kills from Marin Grote. San Diego actually hit 241, while Omaha hit 228, which, look, I'll just say this. I did not expect a 5-setter between Omaha and San Diego, but the fact that San Diego pushed them, and the 5th set was decided 21-19. It felt like Columbus Orlando 2.0 from a couple weeks ago. But yeah, Omaha and San Diego really went the distance and then some. And for Omaha to battle back from an 8-3 deficit at the side switch, it takes a lot, just because San Diego had that momentum, but Omaha kept chipping away, and eventually they were able to win. And that's what good teams do. Speaking of 5-setters between
MLV teams. You had Orlando outlasting Columbus in a 5-setter, which I thought was a really good matchup right there. Wasn't as good as the Omaha-San Diego matchup, but still pretty darn good. The fifth set didn't really need overtime as Orlando wound up winning that fifth set 15-11 as Orlando was led by Charity Looper, who had 24 kills and 10 digs. Brittany Abercrombie had 16 kills and 11 digs. And that was that in terms of double-digit kill leaders as Orlando hit 235, which wasn't bad. Meanwhile, for Columbus, they hit only 168 as they were led by Raina Terry, who had 17 kills. They got 9 kills from Reagan Pittman, but unfortunately it wasn't enough as poor Columbus Fury, they had a tough week. They lost in 3 to Dallas and 5 to Orlando. Speaking of Dallas, the Indy Ignite swept the Dallas Pulse in the early battle for first place. Kind of surprised that the Ignite pulled off a sweep, but the third set was decided 29-27, but in the end, Indy was able to pull off the win on its home floor as they got 10 kills each from Kayla Lund and Lydia Martin. They also got 9 kills from Le Couture member Monet. As a team, Indy hit 296 while holding Dallas to an 80% of 132 as the Pulse, they were led by Sofia Maldonado Diaz, who had 9 kills. But unfortunately, it was just not enough. They got 10 digs from Kylie Murr, but still not enough to pull off the win. And then Sunday, we had a doubleheader. We had the Omaha Supernovas taking down the Grand Rapids Rise in 4, and on the road, mind you. And then we had the Atlanta Vibe taking down the San Diego Mojo in 4 as well. The Rise Supernovas matchup was on CBS Sports Network, which was nice and all. But let me talk about Omaha. Look, I knew they were going to beat Grand Rapids. Look, nothing against the Rise. I just think Omaha is now playing better volleyball. It didn't show against the San Diego matchup, but I think that was the kind of case of maybe San Diego coming in with the underdog mentality. It seems like San Diego always gives Omaha a run for their money, no matter how good or bad San Diego is. So that's kind of respectable, but I just think Omaha is still playing at a high level, and I still think that they're one of the favorites to win the MLV championship this year. So there you go. And now for the Week 5 preview. Jumping into Thursday, that's when the whole thing starts in terms of Week 5. So you got Omaha at Dallas. That's going to be on the Roku channel. All right. Looking at the standings, Dallas is in first place. Oh, no. They're not in first place. I think Indy's the one that occupies first place. Yeah, Indy occupies first place, then Orlando, then Dallas, and then Omaha. All right, Dallas and Omaha aren't too far off from one another. This is going to be the first ever meeting between the Pulse and the Supernovas. I want to see what the Pulse can do against a legit contender. I really want to see if Dallas's fan base is for real, because I'm certain we're going to be seeing Supernovas fans at this event. We're going to be seeing Omaha fans take over Comerica Center, sorry. But if Dallas wants to really prove itself, this is the type of matchup they need to win, because Omaha is one of the favorites to win this whole thing this year. And honestly, I would not be surprised if Omaha wound up winning, but I think Dallas is solid to start, but it's just that they got to bounce back after losing to Indy. And then Friday, we have a triple header. We have Grand Rapids Rise at Indy Ignite, Atlanta Vibe at Orlando Valkyries, and then Columbus Fury at San Diego Mojo. Fury needs to bounce back, and this might be the match to do so, but winning at San Diego could be tough just because it's whole different time zones. Indy looks to keep its winning streak going against the Rise, and then the Valkyries look to keep pace in the standings as they take on the Vibe. Atlanta, I think, is sneaky good. They got the talent. It's just that, do they have enough talent to take down the Orlando Valkyries? That's my big thing right there. And then Sunday, and I'm so glad the MLV has played their matches at noon Pacific time, because if they played it a little later, that would have been an injustice just because Super Bowl Sunday. Like, why are these matches not being played on a Saturday? Like, I mean, maybe it's because Dallas and Omaha are playing on Thursday, and that doesn't really give them too much rest. But Omaha is playing at Orlando, and then Grand Rapids is playing at Dallas. So it's round 2 between the Valkyries and the Supernovas. Supernovas lost the first meeting against the Valkyries. I think the Supernovas should bet. I think the Omaha Supernovas should be better prepared this time around. I think the reason why Omaha wasn't prepared for the Valkyries was because they were coming off of that reverse sweep. Now, barring they don't mess up against the Pulse, I think the Omaha Supernovas should at least give the Valkyries a run for their money. Do I think they'll beat the Valkyries? It's a wait-and-see process just because Omaha did lose to Orlando in Omaha. Now this time Orlando is hosting at Edition Financial Arena. So I want to see what Orlando can do against Omaha this time at their place. Because this is the battle of the two teams that have won the PVF/MLV championships. And then Sunday, you've got Grand Rapids Rise at Dallas Pulse. I think Dallas can win that one, but Grand Rapids, I want to see more out of them. I just feel that they're still, okay, they're not as bad, but still, they're kind of one of the low feeders when it comes to the MLV standings. And then Monday, which I think that's the first time we've had a Monday match, if not the second time. You have Indy Ignite at San Diego Mojo. My only concern for the Indy Ignite is this. They somehow lose. My only concern is they're not prepared on the road. They don't do well on terms of Pacific time. That's my only concern, though. I think they should be fine in terms of beating the Mojo. Like, the Mojo are really going to need to start kicking things up. They're the only team in the league with a 1 win. Like, that's how sad this is when it comes to the San Diego Mojo. The Mojo, to quote Avid Volley on social media, this is not real pro volley. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Like, San Diego, to quote Larry, they're the Raiders of the MLV. I'm sorry, but the San Diego Mojo are the Raiders of the MLV. But prove me wrong, San Diego. Prove me wrong this week. Beat the Ignite on Monday and beat the Fury on Friday. But until then, San Diego's the Raiders of the MLV. Anyway, that'll do it for the MLV portion of the show. So let's recap week 4 of the LOVB season and then preview week 5. And then I will send you all on your way. So week 4, week 4 was rather a fascinating week, and my thing just went bye-bye. Anyway, so yeah, week 4 of the LOVB season was a fascinating week to say the least, as LOVB Houston took down LOVB Atlanta in 4 sets. Solid win right there. All the sets were very competitive, as all the sets were decided by 3 points or less, which I think is a very competitive match. But Houston was able to win in Atlanta, so good job to LOVB Houston. Also, that was on Wednesday. Then Thursday, you had LOVB Salt Lake, the leader of the LOVB standings, taking down LOVB Austin in 5, which it was actually a reverse sweep. So Salt Lake pulling off the win on its home floor, which was very big just because that's last year's LOVB champion, and Salt Lake is the leader of the standings as of right now. Speaking of 5-setters, LOVB Nebraska played Madison to a 5-set match and wound up winning. So that was actually the same night the Omaha Supernovas wound up beating the San Diego Mojo in 5. So LOVB Nebraska also needed 5, and the 5th set was decided 16-14. So if you're a Nebraska volleyball fan and you like cheering for LOVB Nebraska and Omaha Supernovas, I imagine your heart rate was up quite a bit. And then we jumped to Saturday. We had LOVB Salt Lake sweeping LOVB Atlanta, which is not too big of a surprise. I mean, this is LOVB Salt Lake we're talking about. They are actually they're one of the best. I think they are the best team in the league, which I think is pretty awesome sauce, if you ask me. And then Sunday we had a doubleheader. We had LOVB Austin taking down LOVB Nebraska in 4. So this was round 2 between Austin and Nebraska. Remember, this is a rematch of last year's LOVB championship match, which I thought was a little anticlimactic because it was decided in 3, but it is what it is. But Austin wound up taking down Nebraska in 4 sets. Thankfully, for Austin's sake, they didn't need 5 like the first go-around, but honestly, Austin is still up there. I mean, Austin kind of needed a bounce-back win, and for them to win at Nebraska, that's a pretty impressive win right there. Because obviously, Nebraska volleyball fans, we all know what they think of volleyball in Austin or Texas for the most part, but I digress. And then speaking of Texas LOVB teams, you had LOVB Houston sweeping LOVB Madison. So a tough week for LOVB Madison, especially since this past week was Matt Furbringer's birthday, and Matt Furbringer is the head coach. So unfortunately, no wins for LOVB Madison, but it's still early in the week. That was only week 4. Looking at the standings of LOVB, you've got LOVB Salt Lake in first place at 5-1. Austin's in second place at 4-3. Nebraska's in third at 3-3. Houston is also tied for third at 3-3. Madison is fifth at 2-4, and then Austin is 1-4. So Madison's actually lost 4 straight. So Madison has actually lost 4 straight after they started off 2-0, and then Atlanta's lost 4 straight after they started off with a win. So there you go. All right, now let's look at week 5 of the LOVB season. So week 5 will start on Wednesday with LOVB Atlanta hosting Austin. So it's the battle of the worst team in the league versus the second best team in the league. So it's in Austin. The only concern for Austin is that they get too big for their britches and they overestimate Atlanta. And then Thursday we have LOVB Salt Lake play at LOVB Madison. So it's the second worst team in the league versus the best team in the league. The only concern about Salt Lake is that they play one of their worst matches, and then Madison winds up getting their bounce back game after losing 4 straight. So you have that right there. And then Madison also hosts LOVB Atlanta in kind of the battle of the bottom feeders. No offense to those teams, just because all teams make the postseason. And we all saw last year that the 5 and 6 seed can even make the championship match, but I digress. And here's an interesting match on Saturday. You've got LOVB Nebraska at LOVB Salt Lake, but that's actually not going to be played at its original site. I forget where the other match is. Some of the other matches are the Municipal Arena. Oh, I'm sorry, not Municipal Arena. That's Kansas. It's not being played at It's not being played at SLCC Bruin Arena. This matchup is actually going to be played at BYU Smith Fieldhouse. So it's going to be played in Smith Fieldhouse on the campus of BYU, which I think is awesome. So if you're an LOVB Salt Lake fan or an LOVB Nebraska fan, you're going to that matchup. I do not care what your plans are. If you like LOVB Nebraska and you like LOVB Salt Lake, you go to that matchup. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 unless you're me, who's going to be at USC that weekend. But do go to that matchup because I imagine they're expecting a sellout crowd, just because Nebraska fans travel big time and they want to have as much seats possible for all the fans. But I digress. And then also Saturday, to close off the week 5 week of LOVB, you've got LOVB Austin at LOVB Houston at the Barry Center. So this is the battle of the Texas two-step. So it's kind of the battle of this. It's the battle of the second best team versus the battle of the middle of the pack, the 4th best team in the league. I still think anything can happen when it comes to that, but I can't really predict on who will win. I mean, you never know with these matchups. I think both these teams might be more evenly matched than we give them credit for. So, and honestly, again, in-state rivalries are so big time, and Austin's got a lot of talent, but so does Houston. So week 6 is an interesting week. So you've got one match being played in Houston where Houston hosts Nebraska. But then next week is the LOVB Classic, where I guess it's not a tournament. It's just like a round robin or a preseason tournament or a predetermined tournament, as Austin takes on Salt Lake, then Nebraska takes on Atlanta, and then Madison takes on Houston. And it's going to be played at Municipal Arena. So it's going to be like a 3-day classic. So it's like 3 different days for a different match. And again, Friday will be Austin versus Salt Lake. Saturday will be Nebraska versus Austin. Or I'm sorry, Nebraska versus Atlanta. And then Sunday will be Madison versus Houston. And you want to know why they chose Kansas City's Municipal Arena? That's where they had the national championship being held in NCAA women's volleyball this past fall. So there you go. All right, that is that for the LOVB Week 5 preview and Week 4 recap. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I will say I was at the MPSF, the first ever MPSF Beach Volleyball Media Day. I will talk about that next week. I'll even have pictures. And if you've seen my Instagram and X, I've posted all my interviews. Thank the Lord. So definitely do check them out. Definitely help boost the algorithm of that. I would definitely appreciate it if you did, because I was up at like 6:45 till 7:00, and then I had an adventure and a half getting over to the Costa Mesa Marriott via bus. But I made it work. And I had a little bit of a pickle of a time trying to get the one-on-one interviews with the coaches. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the interviews with the players just because it was either miss out on the press conference of the coaches and players or miss out on the content. So I had to miss out on interviewing the players, but I'll probably interview the players hopefully soon. That's going to be one of my goals another goal this year. In addition to covering the VLA more, I'm going to try to cover some more NCAA beach, especially if it works out when it comes to covering NCAA men's volleyball matches. So it's still a wait-and-see process. I would love to cover more NCAA beach volleyball matches. It's not difficult. You don't need tickets, which is great. I mean, last year I covered TCU's matches and their little event when Florida State, Texas, FAU, and Boise State were there. The previous year, I went to USC, UCLA at USC, and then I also went to Long Beach, Day 2 of Long Beach State's little event thing, the Long Beach Classic, where they had teams like CSUN, Nebraska, Texas, and then Arizona State. So that's going to be my thing. I'm going to continue to try to keep the trend going of covering beach volleyball. Yeah, will it be tough to cover beach volleyball? Of course. But do I want to do it? Absolutely. I got to do it just because I cover all things volleyball. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Set Point. Thank you again to Rob St. Clair for being a guest on today's show. It really meant a lot. For everyone here at iSports Radio and for my guest, Rob St. Clair, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have an amazing week. I will see you all on Friday for Long Beach State UCLA in men's volleyball. It's sure to be electric. If you haven't gotten your tickets, then I feel bad for you. If you have gotten your tickets, come say hi to me. Come hang out with me. We'll talk some volleyball, and I will see you then. But have a great week of volleyball, and I will see you on Friday. Peace!